Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Wow. Welcome, welcome. It's the Tripping Thompsons podcast. This is episode number 3, and I am one of your co-hosts, Victor Thompson.
Yes, and I'm the other co-host, Brickell Thompson. And today we're going to talk about something a little bit provocative. And it's all about the one thing that is keeping you from achieving or going for your biggest goals. And any guesses out there about what this one thing might be? And it's something that we all have in common. So it's not about talent. It's not about your magic 8 ball. Is not performing for you. What's the hand
Is
up,
it
Victor?
caffeine?
Caffeine. Gosh, wouldn't that be amazing?
Uh,
Given how much caffeine consumption there is in this world, you would think that everybody would be just radically
mm,
achieving their goals.
no, no.
No. This one provocative thing is inaction.
Inaction. Oh, okay. Oh. Well, you know what? Well, I guess if you think about how many times you had like a brilliant idea. Maybe it's start a business. I'm gonna write a book. I'm actually get in shape, start my fitness journey. But you didn't start, huh? I wonder what that is. But because I think about there are lots of great examples out there. For instance, Tyler Perry. He was
Mm.
homeless, sleeping in his car. I think it was his car. Maybe it was just somebody random
So
vehicle or something.
that would
But
be
no
crazy.
matter what, he ended up taking action. He started writing plays, renting theaters, selling tickets himself, and now he's a billionaire media mogul.
Yeah. Yeah, he is like, wow, what a success story. Makes me think of a couple others too. Um, J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry
Mm,
Potter, a woman who single mom and experiencing kind of a downturn in life, and she submitted to like 12 different publishers and got turned down for her Harry Potter idea in her book. Um, but she didn't give up. So she kept going and her book got picked up, and look at what happened out of that. This launch of the Harry
mhm.
Potter series and all of the gimmicky stuff that you could buy with it, and then it turns into movies. I mean, she didn't stop. She kept pursuing, and then another one too that may be on people's radars, at least in maybe a different certain gender or certain way that people identify that could encounter this product, which is Spanx. And Sarah Blakely was the individual who launched Spanx into the world. And she just took a single action. She had this thought in her head about what if, and took a single action of taking a pair of her own pantyhose and cut the feet off of them, and then just started going from there. And then that's what put her on the map as far as, bringing Spanx into the world. And not only bringing it into the world, it put her in the position of the first youngest female self-made billionaires,
Hmm,
all by taking action.
hmm. Yeah, not sure how she came up with that name though,
I,
Spanx. But
you,
you
might be a good question.
yeah, maybe we'll
So,
have her on
somebody
one day
who,
and we can ask her that question.
well, yeah, absolutely. Or the listening community probably knows. So, like, drop it, give us that feedback. Let us know. Cue us in too.
So today we're just gonna flip the script, right?
Mm,
Because action isn't just a step toward success.
mhm.
It's really like the only step that matters. Well, certainly it's definitely the primary step, right? Because if you don't take action, nothing will ever happen, right? I think it was nobody knows for sure if it was Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky who first said, but it's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
Mm,
so by the end of this episode,
mhm.
you're gonna take your first one. So
Awesome.
you ready?
I'm
Okay.
ready. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so let me just start by saying, n- like, explaining why action is the ultimate success hack. And I'm gonna give you a little scenario, okay? Um,
Mm.
that kind of demonstrates what we talk about is the execution gap. Let's just make two people up, and I'm big on like Disney cartoons, right? Well, Lilo and Stitch. How about that?
Oh, where are we going?
So let's just say they both had the same idea. Because when I went through entrepreneur classes, I was always told that if I had an idea, there was at least 100 other people in the world who had that same idea at the same
Mhm.
time. But so Lilo and Stitch both have the same idea. They're
Mhm.
going to create this revolutionary app, right?
Mm.
Now, I don't know if you ever watched Lilo and Stitch. Well, I know you did, but I mean, if our listeners did, but Lilo might spend months just perfecting the plan, researching, and just waiting for the right time. Stitch, if you kind of understand, he was a Stitch is an alien and just kind of well, he does his own thing. So he just builds a prototype in one weekend, launches it, gets real feedback from the audience, and then all of a sudden, Stitch is a millionaire, right? Why?
Wow.
Well, because he took action, right? So when we
Mhm.
take action, action tends to win out. It certainly wins out over inaction every time. So execution is important. I know a lot of work I've done with businesses before. You know, we talk help them build and design strategic plans. But the thing is, that's just a little document. The strategic
Mhm.
plan does nothing unless there's actually execution attached to it.
That's
So
right.
really, really important. Let me give you a couple other real life examples. I wasn't ever really a fan of the Beatles, but I'm really familiar with their music. And I'm also familiar with this story about the Beatles because the Beatles, before they ever became legends, actually played in these little grungy German clubs. In fact, they didn't even get paid for it. They like would go in
Oh,
and beg to play on stage.
wow.
But the thing is that when they were playing on stage, they were actually perfecting. Maybe I should back away from that word, perfecting. They were actually continuing to improve their craft, right?
Mhm.
They were
Yeah.
getting better and better and better, and people started hearing them, and then all of a sudden, boom! It was like they cut their first album, and it went wildly crazy in the UK. I know that it was big launch. It was top 10, right? There's also a real estate investor that we're familiar with. His name is Henry Washington,
Oh, yeah.
and he
Good guy.
started by getting one little rental property in Arkansas, and now he owns hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. You know, he might be approaching thousands by now. And he says that he didn't wait for the perfect deal. He took
Mhm.
imperfect action and he just started scaling from there. So those are a couple of examples I can think of.
Mhm. Yeah, those are good examples, absolutely. And to advance it a little bit further is, thinking about how does the brain play into this? And neuroscience is it's a fascinating field. I find it fascinating. And the more we learn about the brain, we just more understand our own selves as well as other people. And, action is something that is addictive and it creates opportunity for you to strive for, do more, be encouraged by. So what happens is that every time you take an action, your brain is giving you a shot of dopamine, and your brain loves that. And so the more dopamine's put out there, the more the brain wants. So the brain is actually trying to work with you to encourage you to take action. And this can start really, really small, like how you start your day. Like, do you get up and do you actually make your bed? Do you make it in a way that, you don't have to like do all the appropriate crisp folds and everything like that, but,
A
versus
dime
those
bouncing
that,
off of it?
that's
Like in the
right. That's
military,
right.
don't they have to do that? It's like that, okay.
Doesn't have to be like that, but don't just, skip out of bed and leave the covers and everything all in disarray. Like, at least do something. Get your teeth brushed right away. Get ready for your day. All these little things matter. As you're walking through your house and there's laundry on the floor or shoes that are out of place, put them away. All of these things are cueing your brain to give you more shots of dopamine, giving you more encouragement to continue to stay active and continue to do more. Now, there's the antithesis of this, which is inaction creates fear. And so when we start to shy away from taking an action on something or let limiting beliefs start to creep into our mind and allow that to take over and convince us of certain things, that by not taking action, your brain starts moving into fear mode. And then this also isn't a great thing because your brain will start to create this boundary, almost like a wall around it, making it harder and harder for you to overcome the fear by taking action. The brain inherently is lazy. And so if you're working with it to take advances and take action, the brain's going to give you dopamine and it gets excited about that. But it is inherently lazy, so that if we make a decision that I see that I'm not going to do it, I know I need to do this, I'll get started one day. By doing that, the brain just slides right into, hey, if you're comfortable, I'm comfortable too. And in fact, I'm going to ensure that we're both comfortable. And I'm going to build something up, this really solid boundary, to make sure that we can stay in this place together.
That all sounds great. It's like,
Well, yeah, it not yes, it on the action taking side. On the
yes,
inaction taking side, no. So, you know, um, the former CEO of PepsiCo, she was in her role for 12 years with PepsiCo, Indra Nooyi, and the thing that she espoused was that, she had fear. She was afraid to do things, but she didn't let that stop her from going for her goal, which she wanted to be CEO of the company. But what she did is she started to raise her hand to get involved and to do things. And in those actions, it created this momentum for her. It built the courage. It built the I can do this. The brain's given dopamine saying, keep going. We've got this.
mhm.
And that's what propelled her to ultimately achieve her goal and become CEO of PepsiCo.
Wow, that's an interesting story. And um, it is true though that like fear will always be somewhere around. It has this ability to just kind of hover
Yeah.
and it'll create and like you were saying, it's like it's a contributor to inaction. And then when we're in action, when we don't act for a long periods of time, we tend to get stuck. So
Mhm.
here's our first action step. Because I mean, what would this be if we were doing this particular topic and we weren't actually having you take action during the process, right? I mean, it'd be kind of crazy, right?
Very
So,
crazy.
so here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about something right now that you've been stuck on. Something that you wanted to achieve and you haven't achieved it. And then I want you to overcome the fear, first of all,
Mhm.
of being able to speak it out loud. So you're gonna shout this out. So if there are like lots of people around or anything like that, yeah, you know what? They might get a little bit freaked out when you say this, but you're gonna say, my biggest goal is, and then you're just gonna shout it out, and then you're gonna say, and I'm taking my first step toward accomplishing it today, not tomorrow,
Mm.
today, right?
Today.
Right.
Okay. I like
So,
it.
ready? On the count
Yeah.
of three.
Okay.
One, two, three. My biggest stuck goal is. Okay, so everybody like did it, right? Hope so. All right. So now that you've shouted it out, you're gonna write it down, right? Because
Yes.
now writing it down actually turns it into kind of a personal contract. So there was, I don't know if you heard of Bethany Hamilton, but she was a
Oh,
surfer.
yeah.
Now she's a writer, right? That survived the shark attack when she was a teenager. She lost her left arm. It was totally bitten off by the shark. But now she's turned into like a world champion surfer. And when she lost her arm, one of the things about her is that she got right back on her surfboard within a month.
Mhm.
I don't know about you. I mean, if I think if I had been even if I saw a shark coming after me, I think that would be enough for me to stay out of the water for like
Mhm.
the rest of my life, because actually I'm not that big of a fan anyway, so therefore it wouldn't. But for her, this was a great achievement. No excuses. She said,
No
"Let me
excuses.
get back out there." Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so you need to write down the commitment that you just made. My biggest stuck goal is
Mm.
that's a personal contract that you're making with yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if you've
That's
done that now,
yeah.
we can jump into talking about the next kind of segment that we were going to get into.
Yeah, let's do that. And so we've got all of you who one shouted out what it is, but now you're writing it down too. So two actions that you've already taken as we've been talking. Um, and any guidance on that? Do you think as far as how big the action needs to be, or maybe even how small it needs to be? Does it matter?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
We'll talk a little bit more about that later, I
Yeah.
think. But I mean, any action
Any action.
is better than no action.
That's right.
It was like you were saying. It's like when you get up in the morning, it's make your bed, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to make it perfectly.
No.
One of like from a standpoint of, they're exercising mindfulness and getting in the right frame of mind.
Mhm.
One of the actions that I've heard people talk about is just getting out of bed and feeling your feet on the floor, and just like that brings life to you. Just you noticing that, hey, you know what? I'm awake. What does that feel like? Right?
Mhm.
And so any little thing moves you forward.
Mhm.
And that's what's important, to take that first step, then you can take the next one.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And as simple as it is, that that's where it starts. And there are also natural inhibitors that fall in the way, and we have to pay attention to what these things are. They're like the hidden enemies of taking action and helping us to get to achieving our goals. And the first of those, we've already talked about it, which is fear. And really, when we think about what is fear, it's our lack of taking action on something. It's the inaction towards things. And like we talked about, the brain starts to say, you didn't take action. We're going to protect ourselves. I'm going to build up that wall. Makes it more and more difficult to take the steps needed, right? To speak it out, even. There might be fear and just speaking it out, let alone write it down, let alone actually doing something physically towards getting towards that goal.
Mhm.
And so every person who has been successful, all the people that you admire and look up to and see as role models or aspire to, everyone has confronted fear at some point. So it's a matter of, are we going to let it take us out of the game, or are we going to continue to fight and push through this thing? And so there's an example about, in the corporate space, this is another CEO, currently CEO of Lowe's, the big box kind of, what category are they actually in? Home improvement and
Yeah.
construction, lumber, etc., all that great stuff that you need. Um, so Marvin Ellison shared about his story, and he started out working as a security guard in a department store, yet he wasn't satisfied with that. And he kept pushing to move his role further along and to help his career start to elevate and challenge himself. And the thing is that he acknowledges he he was fearful around taking another step, trying to get to that next rung in the ladder, trying to help elevate his career. All of these were scary things, but he did it no matter what. And so when we think about how we can help ourselves, is that when we shorten our response time to when fear comes in, to when we take action, it helps program our brain to get more confident with, we can do this. I want to give you more dopamine. So go ahead and take action. Let's go. So that's what we want to see, is like, as soon as fear creeps in, know that that's your opportunity. I need to take action, and figure out what that is. Speak it out, write it down, take the action needed.
Yes, fear is they say it's a dream killer, right? But there's a second thing there's another one that I would bring up, and that is perfectionism. So
Mhm.
you probably heard lots of sayings about perfectionism. Perfection is the enemy of progress, for instance. But what I like to think about a lot is that it's kind of is perfectionism is like procrastinating in a fancy coat, right? It's just another way to put things off because you got to kind of keep doing things. And it's like,
Mhm.
Lord knows if you wait, right? Because you
Mhm.
don't need like a perfect camera to start your YouTube channel. We started one, it's like, and it's like right now, it's like I have glare in my glasses, and but still doing this. And look, I'm just gonna adjust the like lighting a little bit, but because I'm taking action during the middle of the podcast. So,
Okay.
but I will say though that when you try and pursue being perfect, when you try and actually start getting things right, exactly right before you
Mhm.
actually do anything, you
Mhm.
reach this point in the law of diminishing returns, where at some point it's like the next action actually is counterproductive. So action is great, but there are times when you just keep like being stuck in not doing that, which not doing is also an action, by the way. It's just like a very counterproductive action, right? Just imagine that the first version of everything sucks. The first time we like recorded the podcast, it sucked. But you know what? You got to go ahead and
Wow.
get through sucks, right? Hey, you know what? We didn't even release it. So, you obviously agree with me, right? Um, but done is better than perfect.
Mhm. Mhm.
So knowing that you got it done actually it also frees up this issue around fear, right? Because we've been talking about fear. Well, once you just get it done, then it also kind of moves fear aside as well. So not only does it take care of the perfectionism, but it also takes care of fear. Sarah, and you were talking about Sarah Blakely before, and
Mhm.
I guess what I heard was that like her first prototype, she just basically cut up cut her pantyhose or something, right? No,
Yep.
I don't profess to know a whole bunch about pantyhose, but you know what I can say is that she didn't wait. She didn't wait for somebody to actually make this like special design or anything like that. She just said, "No, give me a pair of scissors. I'm gonna cut these, and then that's what's gonna happen." Right. So she tested that herself, and
Mhm.
really that first prototype should be the cheapest possible version of what you're trying to do anyway, because then you don't spend a lot of money and you don't spend a lot of time on it. So
Mhm.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, that's really great, and, I think about the number of people who go on, in the US, the Shark Tank, and it's called something different in other countries, I understand that, and the people that go on, not everyone has their product or their service or their idea fully baked, and some people do step onto the platform and give their presentation with a non-working prototype, but it's just to provide a visual. Like, I want to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, but now I need to partner with somebody or somebodies to help take this further. And let's launch this idea and turn it into a great business. And, I think about the people that have the courage to go on to Shark Tank, and then I think about the people who are missing out on opportunities. It doesn't have to be the grand stage of Shark Tank. It could just be, Victor, like as you said earlier, just speak it out. No, write it down. Are you even getting to those steps? Or are you so busy in the other piece of this, which is an enemy of action, which is the analysis paralysis? Oh, I
Mm,
have to do a little bit more research, or I just need to fact check this one more thing. I need to understand, how do I file taxes before I launch my first business? Or I need to know exactly what kind of binding needs to go on my book and what flap type of introduction I'm going to write around this. You don't need to know all that stuff because it's all going to change so many times. And not only that, as you get moving, more people are going to be partnering with you along the journey. There's going to be more involvement. You're going to get other ideas. You're going to refine it. It's going to be amazing, but we got to get going with all of this. So I think we can all think of somebody that we know, and maybe even for ourselves at times that we've been that person. And it can feel safe, like, oh, I feel like I'm still working on this because I'm doing the research. I'm checking into it. I'm taking action. Well, no, you're taking action, just digging a deeper hole, which is going to take harder or more amount of time for you to get up out of that hole and like actually get going and propel yourself forward into actually starting to achieve something. So analysis paralysis, bad, 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 right? Because it's actually self-sabotaging. And we're never going to be 100% certain about anything. Um, because by the time you start taking action, things have changed. And
mhm.
you can never have predicted what's going to change. So it's just better to jump in and get going. And one of the things to pay attention to is giving yourself like the 5-second countdown. Like in 5 seconds, is that I just need to take a breath, and then I need to take the courage or muster up the courage and just kind of get going with this. But you got to hold yourself accountable with that. You got to be mindful about it. You got to pay attention that, am I spending too much time digging in for more research when I just need to take action? So what's holding me back? Inaction's holding me back. And, we've already talked about a few different people. You brought up about Tyler Perry and the Beatles, and like, hurtful that the Beatles isn't like one of your favorites. No, I'm kidding. Um, anyway, very iconic, obviously. But of the examples we've provided so far, no one no one waited for permission to start taking action, right? So Tyler Perry, the guy was sleeping in a car. We don't know whose car. He was sleeping in a car. He was homeless. He was down to whatever like coins he had or few dollar bills he had in his pocket. Like that was his life, but he didn't give up. He rented out a theater and decided the play is going to go on. And it was amazing. There was a turnout of people, and the people said, "You have to continue." And so those people provided that dopamine rush for him. He took the action, but then also these individuals came in and said, "You need to continue." And then you also talked about, like, the Beatles, and you mentioned that, they didn't perfect their sound. They kept working in these maybe not the most pleasant, like, pubs, and, through that process, they were seeing incremental improvement, and that's what it's about. We're not gonna leap from, you know, nothing to being wildly successful. It's a process, and they didn't give up. They just continued to stay at it, and, they played and played until they got better, and then all of a sudden, look at what happened to them. And it probably didn't feel all of a sudden, but at some point, right, the attention comes in, the commitment to a community of supporters to help your idea be successful starts to snowball and get larger and larger. And then all of a sudden, you're on your way,
Mhm.
but they didn't give up. So, I know you gave the action before, speak it out, write it down. So this one is about the 5-second challenge. So next time you hesitate, I want you to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go. And then your brain's going to try and stop you. Because remember, the brain's inherently lazy and it's like, do we really have to go? We're kind of good right here. No, you have to go. So you're going to tell your brain to shut up. This is about you. This is about your opportunity. You're going to push through. And so I want you to try that. So you've got a couple of things now. You shouted out what your goal is or what your action is going to be. You wrote it down. And now you're going to continue to encourage yourself along this journey that anytime some form of hesitation creeps in with you, it's that what is that one tiny action I can take? And I'm going to count myself down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And I'm going to take that action. As small as it is, it's a step forward. And remember, the brain likes that and will work with you by shooting out some dopamine. You're going to feel good. I took that action. Now I want to take another because now I'm feeling really good. And
Mhm.
that is contagious.
Absolutely. I was just thinking there was one thing I was going to mention, and that is that some people are continual learners. So when you get into a trap actually that really feeds your dopamine, and that is you love like digging deep into the rabbit hole, right? And so when you talk about analysis paralysis, some people just get excited and they're off doing all kinds of things, digging deep. So one thing you can do, because I'm one of these people, that's why, it's like you can set a timer. You say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do 15 minutes of analysis. When the timer goes off, boom, that's it. We're going to like do something else to drive a different adrenaline rush, right? So
Mhm,
just a little thing that I picked up along the way. Can
mhm,
set a timer.
mhm,
We want to talk now because we've been talking about taking immediate actions and things like that. But some goals are bigger, right? And you may, and especially one that you might be stuck on. So we want to create what we call a 30-day action blueprint. And
mhm,
so there's really like four steps that we're going to cover. And the first one is about breaking it down.
Mhm.
and also known as the 1% rule. So we've been talking about all along these little steps,
Mhm.
and sometimes that's exactly what you need to do. It's like, hey, you know what? I got big this big bodacious thing I'm trying to accomplish, and it seems really hard to do. But if I break it down into little chunks, I can get things done and I will make progress. So you want to write a book? Write a sentence today, right? Tomorrow maybe you write a paragraph. Who knows? You were talking about J.K. Rowling. She wrote
Mhm.
Harry Potter, and by sitting in coffee shops,
Mhm.
and every book is written one sentence at a time.
Mhm.
So, you got to start somewhere, right? So if you
Mhm.
write one sentence, that's great. Little writer's block technique, by the way, is that if you start writing and you stop, the best way to stop is to stop in the middle of a sentence. Because then what happens is your brain will start working on, how do I fill that sentence in? How do I fill that sentence in? So when you
Mhm.
step back to it the next day or whenever you step back to it,
Mhm.
it has something that it's been noodling on. And there you go. You
Mhm.
want to get fit? You can do
Mhm.
one push up. If you do one push up today, and tomorrow
Mhm.
you do two, and you keep adding each day,
Mhm.
think about it. By the end of a quarter, you're up to like 90 push ups, which is extremely good, right? You'd be extremely fit. But all you're doing is just adding one more push up every day. Right. And
Right.
there's something called the push-up challenge. That's why I remember this, because the goal of that one is really to get to 50 push-ups. So you keep adding one every day. And it's
Mm.
really simple because every day you're just adding one more. So it makes it seem like, oh, you know what? I just did 10 yesterday, 11. What's the big deal? Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Small wins build unstoppable momentum, right? You've already talked about it, Brickell. You talked about, hey, like how that dopamine hit happens. It's like the brain
Mhm.
keeps wanting to do more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Again, it's addictive, right? And what a great addiction to have because it's your pathway to success. It's a pathway to you achieving the goals that you are desiring.
Hmm.
Like, why not? Of course, why not? The other one that we had talked about with this is that there's the no turning back deadline. And so with this, again, it's about speaking out and it's about making it known to others is that you're going to tell the world, you're going to tell your community, or you're going to tell one person other than yourself and other than your pets and not Lilo and Stitch. Can't be animation either. Is that you're going to let them know I am launching blank by this date. I am launching my business. I am launching my book. I am launching my fitness journey. Um, it could be I'm asking for that promotion or that raise that I've been desiring by this date. It also could be I'm turning in my resignation because I deserve better and I have other plans. But you've got to be really concrete. I'm putting a time marker out there and then there's no coming back. You bought a one-way ticket and you're jumping on that plane and you are going to your destination and you're going to make this goal happen. There's no backseas. There's no refunds on this. You're getting in your seat and you're just going to go. And, I'm glad that Henry Washington was brought up because, it's been such a pleasure meeting him. And, he, again, real estate investor. And as Henry talks about his story, it's another story where, he's married and he felt I need to take care of my family. He already started speaking it out. He and his wife didn't have kids yet, but started speaking it out. I need to first take care of my wife. I got to take care of my family. And I'm broke. Like I can't even spell broke. Like that's how broke I am. And he saw opportunity to go into real estate investing and purchasing his first singular home that he could put a renter in and start getting some, like your cap says, cash flow every single month. He's going to be making money off of this one investment. And out of that grew so much. But the thing is that he bought his one-way ticket. He said, I am going to take care of my family. I am going to do this. I am not turning back. I'm not looking for a refund. I'm going to make this happen. And then look at him go. So, for those of you who don't know, maybe any of the people that we've brought up so far, go ahead and Google them and check it out because they all are humans just like us. They all started in a place that maybe wasn't desirable, and they had goals, dreams, aspirations like we all do, and they just went for it. They bought the one-way ticket, and these are all great examples for us to look to as far as how can I do it too? Well, we're providing you the good stuff about how you can do it too.
Mhm. And then there's step 3.
Okay, what's that one?
That's embrace the ugly first draft.
Ooh.
So, because like the first try, remember I said like first podcast suck, right?
Mhm,
Well, it doesn't matter. First try is going to be bad, and that's good.
mhm.
Does that make sense? It's going to be
Yep.
bad, and that's good.
Yeah.
The magic is in the iteration, right? So,
That's right.
like when the Beatles first started their first recordings, they were pretty rough.
Mm.
And I'm just kind of guessing that, those the first Spanx rendition was probably not all that desirable. Okay. In fact, I heard like I did a little looking, and she actually took the first samples and held them together with duct tape.
Oh, okay.
Now they say duct
That's
tape
a
is
look.
good for everything, right? So hey,
Kinda
but
does.
that's what they say. It's like you start ugly
Mhm.
and then you refine, right? So it's like the thing I've learned really, I mean, one of the, not that I'm doing advertisements for AI and chat GPT, but I can tell you one thing. It's great having a little like cheat assistant like chat GPT, because my ugly first draft, guess who sees it? That's who sees it. It's like when I have to write something, I like give it to chat after, and it's like, and then chat actually says, "Yeah, that was ugly. Here, let me help you out." Okay,
Yeah.
and then it comes back with something that's actually a little bit better. And so then
Mhm.
but you refine it, right? So it's just great to be able to just admit that it's gonna be ugly.
Mhm.
And then you just go ahead, pump that ugly thing out, and then you start refining.
'Kay. Pumping the ugly. I
Pumping the
hear
ugly.
you.
There you
I
go.
hear you. Okay,
Mhm.
then the 4th one is an accountability partner. And so you want to identify someone who you can share your goals with and what your destination looks like to you and ultimately where you want to go. But you want to identify someone who is going to hold you accountable, isn't going to put up with your crap, isn't going to be like, oh, that's okay that you didn't do whatever it was you're supposed to do today, or you haven't done it for a week and now it's been a month. It's okay. You'll get back on track. No, they are going to ride you. It's not okay. So you need to make sure that the person or the community of people that you select, that they are going to hold you accountable because it's about your success. It's about you going and getting your dreams and your goals. And if people really care about you, they're going to do that. It's the people who stay silent or say that's okay. They don't care. So make sure you're picking your community wisely to make these things happen. And it's 100% all in. Let's go. You might even want to attach some bets to it. Like, hey, if I don't do this, I owe you. whatever. Maybe I owe you those 90 push-ups on day 1.
Mhm.
Maybe I owe you, you know, dinner at the restaurant of your choosing or whatever it might be, right? But there's gotta be some stakes into it because there needs to be a pain point in order
Okay.
for you to keep moving, right? And, the CEO from Lowe's, so Marvin Ellison, he's talked about this, that he had a community of mentors who kept pushing him because he shared, I want to get better. I want to continue to push my career further. Like, great. We're here for you, but you got to make sure you're doing the things that it's going to take to get there. Same thing with Tyler Perry, he credits his community of the audience goers in the early days where there wasn't a lot that showed up, but there were people that showed up, gave him encouragement, but they also said, "You have to keep going." And they believed in him, right? And so with these, again, the shot of dopamine coming in, but he had and others have this community that are working with and for you.
Yeah, so real quick, just to reiterate the 4
Mhm.
steps.
Okay.
Step 1, break it down, right? N Little chunks. Step 2,
Mhm.
commit to no turning back, right?
Yeah.
Throw away the ticket and just the return ticket and go. Step 3, embrace ugly.
Praise ugly.
Yep.
Mm.
And step 4, ensure that there's accountability somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Accountability partner, accountability mentor, just in Tyler Perry's case, right? An accountability audience, right? The
Mhm.
audience of people. And
Yeah.
that leads me to the third action step, which really we'd love to be your accountability partner, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So so here's the 24-hour challenge. You hear this podcast, right? And before tomorrow, commit to taking one step toward your goal.
Yeah.
And then and share your action. You can leave your action in the comment section in YouTube, or you can actually DM us at it's at the underscore trippin, no G underscore Thompsons on Instagram, right? Either one of those, we'd be happy to, hear what you have to say, share what action you've taken or you're taking,
Mhm.
and we will respond to every single one of
We will. We're gonna celebrate you.
them. We are.
Mm. See, and even that, even just responding by posting a message or submitting a question or a comment, that's an action, right? So don't let hesitation take you down and out from it. This is a simple thing to do.
Mhm.
Think that's awesome. Yeah, so as we're closing, no more waiting, right? So that's the next challenge is like think about there is no more waiting. There is no time remaining. The time is now and let's embrace it. The truth is that you're never going to feel ready. Nobody ever feels completely ready. So there is no perfect time that exists. So the time is now. And what's holding you back from where you are today to where you want to be is this pathway of action. And it requires you to just get started. We listed off all of these examples about, people who were in a really tight spot, difficult situation. That might not be your story. You might actually be in a really great place and want to get even greater. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Keep going and doing it. But what we provided for you was examples of people who didn't have anything else to rely on. And they had to make it happen. And if they didn't make it happen, who knows where they would be today? If they'd even be among us. I don't know. And we don't want that for anybody. We want people to be successful. We want you to go for your goals and do the things that you need to do. So, no more excuses. You're never going to feel ready. The time is now. And just a quick personal example I'll share with you. When when I ran my first marathon, I trained, I trained, but the big action wasn't in the training, it wasn't in the conditioning, it wasn't in the mental preparation. It was submitting an application for the marathon and the hefty fee that goes along with it. That is where the commitment came, because I could have gone into the analysis paralysis. Oh, I just need to train a little bit longer. I need the right equipment. I need new shoes. I need to do more hill running, whatever it might have been. I could have delayed that forever, but the action and the commitment is submitting the application, because now there's a date that that marathon's happening, and I bought the one-way ticket. I was all in. Now that date's there, I'm committed and I'm going for it. And I believe all of you have this in you too. Okay. We're going to nip fear in the bud, and it's no longer going to be a part of us. We're going to start taking action. So, what I'm asking you to do is a 30-day challenge. And everything that we've just shared with you, every single day, there's going to be one thing that you're going to take action on, as big or small as you want to make it. But for 30 days, you are going to put all of this into practice and commit to you and to achieving your goals by taking one action every single day. And we are here to celebrate you. We're right along the journey with you. We're excited to hear about how you are going to transform within 30 days. So please keep us updated. We want to hear your success stories.
Yes, we do. And if this episode really got you pumped up and excited, you actually got a dopamine hit because you took an action and you press play to listen,
Yep.
then do us a favor.
What's that?
One, subscribe to
Mm,
our channel on YouTube
yep.
at
Click
Trippin
it.
Thompsons, right? Because
Yep.
we're going to be doing this every week. I mean, maybe
Mhm.
not doing hey, we're going to talk about actions, but we're going to be talking about something of interest to you.
Mhm.
Then share the podcast with somebody who you also think might be stuck in someday mode. They keep avoiding taking action or something like that because they could use that now.
Yeah.
Thirdly, take your first step. Right.
Mhm.
Remember before we
Do it.
said sharing your comment, share in the comments, DM on Instagram,
Mhm.
whatever is easiest for you as far as that goes, because we want to celebrate you. And we just believe, right? There's a old animation. Well, it's not that old. It's like early 2000s.
Mhm.
Kids you watched. It was called Meet the Robinsons, and the motto of their family was keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward.
Right. So you
Mhm.
want to keep moving forward because remember, dreamers dream, but doers dominate.
Yes,
So
they do.
which one are you
Woo.
going to be?
Woo.
So until next time.
Until next time.
Keep moving forward.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Boom.